Excellent. So I'm going to share screen. Right, so, all right. So Survive and Thrive is a large and diverse statewide coalition and campaign seeking multi-year funding from state budget sources in order to ward off a fiscal cliff facing public transportation. There are well over 100 organizations that include transit agencies, that include metropolitan planning organizations like MTC, including nonprofit organizations of many different stripes supporting transit and active transportation and environment and equity and labor and more, all banding together because there is an urgent crisis that is affecting public transportation. So public transportation was, as we all remember, very severely impacted by the pandemic when we had shelter in place and most people were not going anywhere. The only people who were traveling were people who were essential workers and had essential trips. Transit really served as a lifeline for people, taking essential trips. And the federal government played a critical role in providing emergency funding that kept transit running for those urgent needs. And since the depths of the pandemic, transit ridership has been coming back, but it's been coming back more gradually. Statewide transit boardings were back to about 68% of February 2019. That's in California. In the Bay Area has been even more severely impacted, and Bay Area transit ridership is back at about 55% of pre-pandemic level. So recovery does vary across agencies in California. So with the in the Bay Area, the agencies that carry the vast majority of the riders being most heavily impacted, including SFMTA, including AC Transit, BART, and Caltrain. So even at this recovery period in California, every single day, people take transit trips to work, to school, medical appointments, and so on. There were 70 million transit boardings in California in February. So it's continues to be an essential service, even in this recovery phase. And meanwhile, traffic is back, coming back and worse in some places than it was before the pandemic. That federal relief funding is running out, and that is leaving agencies with significant shortfalls. 72% of transit agencies around the state are anticipating shortfalls in the next several years, including AC Transit and BART and SFMTA that are expecting their fiscal cliff in approximately 2025. And if nothing is done about that, there could really be significant service cuts and fare increases that could create a cycle of decline. So if service is cut and transit is less useful for people, then ridership goes down even further, and that reduces even more revenue and reduces the value of transit to the public, and that just makes the crisis worse and the hole more deep to dig out of. And as folks here really know, public transportation is absolutely essential to addressing many of the challenges for our region and for our state. Housing affordability, we depend on public transportation to help affordability for people and to support housing near transit is a important strategy for housing affordability, preventing traffic, addressing climate change, and the inequality that impacts our region. And so we need a strong transit system in order to deal with all of these challenges. Transit is essential for social equity. Almost 60% of residents in California who commute via public transit have a household income below $35,000, and over 500,000 residents in California don't own a vehicle and count on public transportation for daily needs. And this includes young people. It includes seniors, people with disabilities, many people who fully depend on public transportation. And transit is essential to address our climate goals. Transportation is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the state, and transit reduces vehicle miles traveled, and service cuts would really undermine the state's ability to address ambitious climate goals. Electric vehicles are good, but electric vehicles alone are not going to get us to our climate goals fast enough. And the transit also complements housing and active transportation strategies for climate-friendly transportation and other goals. And this is we've been here before as a state, and we can't afford to lose transit. So in the LA area, they had a really robust streetcar network before World War II, and in the car era, a lot of that was ripped out. And the level of service that was there before has not fully come back. In the East Bay, there was a key system that also was ripped out in the car era. And while the AC Transit bus routes, came in to provide service, we don't have, there's an element of transit that we lost in the car era. We can't afford to lose the system that we have. So we do have a significant opportunity in the very short term with the legislators. We are asking legislators to provide funding from state budget sources to prevent the fiscal cliff in the immediate term, and to help transit regrow ridership. And as I'll talk about in a few minutes, to also help in the Bay Area for us to get ready for a regional funding measure to provide more long-term stable funding. So the campaign is to provide operating funding and also to fund ridership recovery initiatives. And importantly, this is a multi-year request. The fiscal problem is smallest in the upcoming budget year, and then continues in the coming year. So a multi-year measure will help regrow ridership and bridge in our region to be able to do more self-funding. So we'll talk a little bit about the ridership recovery initiatives. This is particularly relevant and really exciting in the Bay Area, because in the Bay Area, in the depths of the pandemic, the MTC and transit agencies worked together and worked with transit advocates, business groups, labor groups on a series of strategies to recover transit from the pandemic by making transit more integrated, more affordable, more easy to use. And this includes a exciting pilot program that is happening now, which is an all-agency transit path. This is something that is available. The first phase of this pilot is serving public colleges and universities, including UC Berkeley, as well as San Jose State, San Francisco State, and others, as well as residents of affordable housing in 13 communities run by Mid-Penn Housing. There's 50,000 people participating in this pilot, and the early data is showing that people using the Bay Pass are taking about 40% more trips than other people. The way that this works is, for example, at UC Berkeley, people had access to an AC transit pass, and a random sample selection of people with that AC transit pass were given access to the richness of public transportation across the Bay Area, including BART, including Muni, including ferries. And that is resulting in a really significant ridership increase. And not only a ridership increase on the other agencies, but a ridership increase on the AC transit pass in that UC Berkeley example. So that's one of the strategies that we're investing in now and is starting to show ridership increase. Another strategy that is happening now and over the next several months is starting to plan transit in the Bay Area in a similar way than how transit is planned. This is a map of Switzerland in places around the world that have well-coordinated and high ridership systems. The way that the Bay Area has planned transit historically is it's focused on capital projects, where each agency and each county identifies their very favorite capital projects and has submitted them to the MTC, and those capital projects are stapled together, and that was considered a transit plan. But the way that this is done in parts of the world that do this well, the planning is based on service, figuring out how fast someone should be able to get between, for example, Oakland and Redwood City, and how frequent does that service need to be, and what improvements need to be made that may cross multiple agencies in order to make that service and that rider experience possible. There's going to be outreach over the summer about this, and this is going to turn into our region's plan for a more convenient and well-connected system. And there's some recent, let's see, and one of the things that this planning will go into, there's a potential for good short-term improvements to help regrow ridership, as well as a plan for investments that can be funded by a regional funding measure. And I'm showing you some pretty brand new polling that was commissioned by the MTC and came out last week, showing that in the Bay Area, residents in the Bay Area continue to support public transportation. This support is, a very large majority consider that transit is important. People are strongly disagree with the perspective that with the pandemic, transit is now obsolete. People very much do want transit to continue. People also want transit to improve. There's extraordinarily strong 90% support for things like making BART trains and ferries reliable, affordable, and connected, a seamless transit network with coordinated routes and schedules, supporting communities where residents rely on transit, supporting schools and after-school activities, and so on. We do have the support and really need right now the support from the state to help prevent the short-term cuts and to help fund those ridership regrowth initiatives while we are working on a regional funding measure. And so the timeline for the state campaign, we're coming into the home stretch. So I'll talk about some of the key deadlines, and then we'll open this up for, I'll talk about some of the opportunities for action, and we'll talk about any questions that you have, and would love to talk interactively about how this group can support the time-sensitive actions. So there have been budget negotiations going on over the last couple of months. On May 15th, we're expected to see the governor's May revised budget proposal. The statutory deadline for the legislature to pass a budget is June 15th at midnight. So there are a number of action opportunities coming up. So on Wednesday, there's an Assembly Budget Subcommittee 3 that's going to be talking about the transit fiscal cliff. And there is a opportunity to make dial-in public comments on May 12th. Phil Ting, who is the budget chair, so he has a really powerful role to play, is holding a budget town hall in San Francisco. It's in the State Building. That is near San Francisco City Hall, and there's a contingent that are going to be going down, with signs and making public comment at this budget town hall. On May 16th in Sacramento, there's a Senate Select Committee focusing on Bay Area transit, and we're using that date as a focus date to have a rally in Sacramento, including people from our statewide allies that are also coming in. And because that date is also before and in advance of, there's going to be some final committee hearings with votes expected the week of the 22nd. And so we'll want to be making visits to legislators and having a presence before then. We have a set of action tools, including there's a petition. So signing the petition not only shows how many thousands of people are supporting the Survive and Thrive campaign, but also everyone who signs the petition will get action alerts and the information about calling into the hearings. And there's also some tools to call and write your legislators. The campaign is planning a last round of lobby visits. So this group is interested in supporting those that would be extremely welcome. We're putting together social media to get the word out about these remaining milestones and action opportunities too. So sharing via social media would also be helpful. And last but not least, the slide with all of those logos is a coalition letter. There is a last version of the coalition letter going out this week, and the official deadline for that was actually today, but I think that if this group does sign coalition letters, we can get you under the wire tomorrow. So with this, we'll be happy to take any questions and to discuss what this group is may be interested in doing in supporting this campaign. All right. Questions are welcome.
Sure. So I guess I have a quick question, which is, I seem to remember some recent polling. I'm not sure if it was this set polling or a different set polling, which was about possibly going to the voters for a regional transportation ballot measure in 2024. And it seemed like the voters weren't quite to 2/3 majority yet on that. So I was curious if you had any sense for sort of where the political strategy is leaning in terms of going in 24, or if there's been some talk about waiting.
Okay. Yeah, so the poll here, I just did a blog post on this, so I can bring up some more of the numbers. And so the region is working at the same time on funding measures for transportation and for housing. And housing has been ahead in the queue. So the path that MTC and agencies and the housing community have been on was for an affordable housing bond in 2024 and a transportation funding measure in 2026. The polling for the housing bond is also below 2/3, but there is ACA 1, there's a piece of legislation that would lower the threshold for housing and also transportation for capital improvements. And if that doesn't go through, that campaign, they're looking to do a statewide initiative to lower the threshold to make sure that that passes. And many of the organizations in the Survive and Thrive Coalition are also very strong supporters of affordable housing. So we also want to see the affordable housing bond and are, not eager to have them be competing on the ballot, which would add more risk. In terms of the transit polling, the top level number was below 2/3. Hang on, let me actually pull up what that was. However, there were sub questions where people were asked about things that they want to see, and those sub questions were well above 2/3. So it might actually be that even now something could clear 2/3. More polling is needed, and also there is a significant issue with regional transit funding that needs to be worked out with what's the funding mechanism going to be. So historically, we've used a lot of sales taxes in the Bay Area, and there are many leaders and organizations that are frustrated with the regressive sales taxes and are looking for more progressive revenue mechanisms. There was some polling done a couple of years ago that did show viability. In order to bring together a unified coalition, more work needs to be done on revenue mechanisms, which is yet another reason why it would be better to have the state provide that bridge funding to bridge us till 2026 while we work on these initiatives to regrow ridership and build that extremely solid coalition, because in order to clear 2/3, you need to be, there needs to be a lot of unity and, not a lot of organized opposition.
Thanks for cluing us in on that.
So that is the, that's the robust inside information version of it.
Love to hear it. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions?
Yeah, I'd be curious if you could talk a little bit more about the revenue mechanisms and where the bulk of the current funding for the transit system comes from. And I'm also curious if you could just ballpark, if like in terms of the revenue generated from ridership and like ticket sales, what percentage of the overall revenue does that kind of comprise? I'm just curious if you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one really interesting thing, and I can here do a preview. I guess we're recording, so maybe I shouldn't screen share this. But actually Spurs published their numbers. I'll answer your question in a different way, which is Spur has done some very interesting research showing that the state of California underfunds its transit and especially major agencies compared to other metropolitan areas in the United States that have a significant transit systems. And the other thing that their research showed is that we particularly underfund transit operations. at the state level. The state has historically focused a lot on capital projects. So we have rail extensions and pay for buses, but then don't provide as much state support for service. With the revenue from fares before the pandemic, agencies including BART and Caltrain got about 70% of their revenue from fares, and some of the more bus-focused service had fare box recovery significantly lower than that, ranging from, I think SFMTA was about 25% and VTA was under 10%. It really varies, but significantly lower. Hopefully that addresses at least some of your questions.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. That's kind of exactly what I was curious about. And so then the remainder, that 30%, that's is it mostly local sales tax is predominant?
Yeah, so it really varies. And so as you're new to the Bay Area, like
Yeah.
part of our challenge here historically is that our transit system is very fragmented. We have 27 different
right.
agencies. Each
Okay.
agency has a different mix of revenue. And so AC Transit gets some of its revenue from property taxes and sales taxes. The South Bay is very heavily sales tax. I can get you more information offline of this conversation about like how it goes agency by agency.
Thanks. Yeah, that was very helpful though. Thanks.
All right. But the point is that one point is that the agencies that got a lot of the revenue from fares and from riders, with the ridership depressed, that is causing a very severe a budget problem and a risk to the viability of the system. And then, for example, in San Francisco SFMTA, they relied, in addition to having fares, they relied on parking and other fees that are dependent on San Francisco's economy, which has been really badly hit by the pandemic too. Denard.
Hi, I was just, what was the name of the study or the data that was published that you referenced?
That was from Spur, and they have a blog post and a presentation on when I am either not talking or after. I can send you a link to their report.
Oh, that would be great. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more questions before we talk about what this group might want to do?
By the way, Adina, can you send me the most updated presentation slide? Because the one that we received from you, it wasn't the most updated. That way we can also have a record and refer to it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. There any more questions before we get to the what to do? Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slide with the timeline. All right. I guess the first question is the group interested in supporting the Survive and Thrive campaign, and then therefore would be potentially interested in doing more follow-up activities. And and maybe like if in a process we would need to kind of talk through it, and then you can get to the decision like later in the evening. We can just talk about what the opportunities might be, and then you can decide about doing them afterward. So one thing is signing the letter. And then another question is, would this group be interested in, since many people do have relationships with local legislators interested in being included in the last wave of lobby visits. Another thing would be distributing out the petition and signing up to get updates on the remaining hearings. That would be really helpful. And also spreading that petition far and wide so we get more people who can comment at those hearings would be powerful. And then there's the couple of opportunities to show up in person, including at the Phil Ting Budget Town Hall and at the rally in Sacramento. So I will stop there. Megan.
Yeah, before my comments, can you remind me what the lobby day is again?
Yeah, so on May 16th, in the morning before the Senate Select Committee for Bay Area Transit, we're doing a rally in Sacramento and doing some in-person visits. And in addition to that, what we're going to be doing is identifying which key members of budget committees and the Bay Area delegation do we want to have final visits with. And we can invite you to those meetings, the ones in person in Sacramento and the ones that we'll be having not on the 16th that are likely going to be by Zoom.
Megan, you're muted.
Can you send, I want to make sure we get this information and the specifics.
Yeah.
Can you, I'm sure that you've already sent out an email, but could you send another one and then we can circulate to the rest of the board? I'm definitely interested in going. I just want to make sure I have the times correct.
Yeah.
So I think that that's imperative for folks who have their day jobs, right? But I want to open it up to the floor, see if folks want to participate, if they have other ideas, and what we can do. This is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I think a lot of the folks here as well can attest. So you're kind of preaching to the choir in a lot of ways, Adina. So who can go ahead? I think everyone can sign the petition, number one. So can we just put that in the chat for folks to just do that, get that out of the way right now? And then number two, I'll punt it back to the group to see if anyone has other ideas or if they're interested in participating further.
This is Ruben. Is there's still time to sign on to that coalition letter?
Yes. The official deadline was today, but we'll take a sign on tomorrow.
Okay. Probably won't be doable with the EBYD bylaws. Maybe the Latino Young Dems, but I'm not sure. But is there like, so I know you all will like submit the letter and whatnot, but would there still be like the ability to sign on to that afterwards, just for after effect things, or do we just more focus on getting the word out there in the petition and all that?
We'll take rolling logos. So just the tomorrow would get it before we send it in, but we keep updating them.
Thank you.
The petition is here.
Looks like Erica / Olivia already got it, but then I see you also got it. So let's save that so we can disseminate to our membership. And then, yeah, it would be great if we could get our letter in or our logo in. Other folks? Go ahead and just click on the petition now and fill it out while we can. I've already filled it out, actually. But show of hands, whom, while you're doing the petition, who might be able to go to the lobby day? You can just raise your hand. Okay, Jason. I read your comment as maybe, but I'm guessing you're saying me. Okay. Denard, Nick, Kelly,
Sorry,
Olivia.
Could you say when the lobby day is again?
That is the 16th. We are still nailing down the final details of the agenda, but I think we're going to be gathering at the Capitol steps at 10:30.
I have to be at the Capitol on the 17th. Ugh. I don't know if I can make 2 days, but I signed the petition.
Okay, then you'll get the details.
Okay, and then I think is there a template to write our legislator / call our legislator? I think that's also what we can do.
Yes, there's the Phil-Ting Budget Town Hall is in San Francisco. So anybody who wants to take a BART or AC Transit Transbay bus over, it's at 12:30. So it could be a lunchtime activity if anybody wants to come by for that. And Phil-Ting has very unfortunately not been taking meetings. So this is the opportunity to get in front of Phil-Ting.
Who have you been coordinating with in his staff? And
Mark Checkle, and one of the people asking was Janice Lee, who's the BART board president. They said no to her, so they're really not taking meetings. They're saying come to our town hall. If you have anybody else who can help to get a meeting, we have representatives of multiple transit, active transportation, environmental, and labor organizations who are standing by and will take a meeting if anybody can get one.
I'm definitely not guaranteeing a meeting. I have worked with Mark in the past, as well as Janice, but that's not surprising to get folks to the town hall as a vehicle. Okay, so I think we can, since there are those links working in the slide deck?
Yep. And
Okay, great.
also, you'll also find the links and all of the events, including the timing of them, on the website at www.savecaliforniatransit.org.
Oh yeah, Adina, can you resend the presentation slide link? Because I
Yeah.
see that you have updated the dates and the presentation slide that you sent us does not have that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anyone else have any comments, other ways to get involved? Rowan, anything from you?
Yeah, not only do I think that this is, a little bit preaching to the choir here, there's so much love for transit in this Zoom call. But East Bay Young Dems is just one chapter of the Bay Area Young Dems. I would love to take some of this information, and I've been taking notes and things to share not only in our newsletter tomorrow, but I know that there are other chapters that would really love to get involved in something like this. So I will ask Ruben and everyone to connect me with you, but I would love to share this out to more than just the folks here in this room.
Okay, and happy to help. And we have about half a dozen people who can give this presentation, so we'll be happy to present to any other Young Dem Club, community group, event, etc.
That's perfect. We have there might be an event coming up shortly that we've been looking for a speaker. So
Okay, we will just ask, we will be the speaker. Great, thanks. If this is moving on, if the next item is the presentation on the housing bill, I do housing advocacy on the side, and would welcome getting an update on that if I would be able to stay. And otherwise, thanks so much for your interest, and I will get you the slides and look forward to y'all engaging in the last key milestones of this important campaign.
Great. I don't think that's a problem. Celine, we can stop recording. So, and thank you so much for your presentation, Adina. We really appreciate